What is happening, everybody? Thank you for tuning in if you did. If not, that's all good. Content is not for everyone. That's why you have the freedom of choice. You have the freedom to choose and the freedom to invest however you want to. You may not like this particular content, you may not like other content, but in the end, you have free speech, you have free will. Now, I had a thought. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Toastmasters. Basically, you can work on your public speaking. I thought it'd be really funny for someone to join Toastmasters and basically shill hex to them every single speech. It would be kind of funny, although it would get a bit boring after a while. Like the same thing over and over again, trying to present it from different angles. You would get really good at it though, but that's not what I am here to do. To go over the same thing over and over again, because I'm pretty sure if you recognize this logo on my hat, you probably understand what hex is. You probably understand what the derivatives are, what T-shares are. That's about it. That's all I'm ever going to touch. Maybe one might get a burner wallet, have a play around, but beyond that, what do I think is my best ever investment ever? It's been hex. I did follow a lot of cryptocurrencies, came across a lot of cool stuff. For some reason, it didn't take off. Like, I remember XDAI for some reason. I'm like, that chain's pretty decent, but it just no traction. I think there was an exchange over there of some sort, and you could sort of swap back over into fiat if you wanted to. So I guess when you compare it, you could kind of compare that to the ETHW, ETH forks. You get some stuff on there, play around and take some profits if you wanted to. Move some monetary energy to where it's treated best, whatever chain that might be on. Now, I love Twitter. The stuff you come across is very, very interesting. A lot of it might not be so true. A lot of it's memes. A lot of it's pretty funny. This one is pretty interesting. Again, I'm just picking it up. I haven't been able to verify it 100% because literally 2 minutes ago, and I opened it up. I found out, oh wow, look, election integrity. Experts identify privacy flaw affecting all ICP/ICE Dominion voting systems across 21 states. And no, it won't be patched before the midterms. Here in Australia, I've experienced personally, major system hacks and exploits, almost 3 days straight. So there was a major telecommunications, there was a major health insurance fund, and there was another one I can't think of off the top of my head. It might have been a supermarket. Basically, people's data was being breached, leaked, and appearing on who knows where. My guess is the dark web. Now, I thought I'd mention that because, cybersecurity is pretty important. Although I have heard that there was, I think, CISA audits conducted on these devices and they turned up green. But then also there's been some other news, basically, some people were hosting data on Chinese-based servers. So that's probably not the best thing for a nation to host their election servers offshore. When you go to major financial institution, would you be happy if all your stuff was stored off overseas? And how would the information get there? Is there not a risk it could be picked up or intercepted on the way to or from? Anyway, another topic, because there's all to go on further, the internet cables on the bottom of the ocean, the flow of information, how it actually goes to and from. So I think the internet was started when people were basically sending an email back and forth, something like that, or the internet, sorry. You send a message from here to there, it came through. So if you're sending, anyway. Long story short, we all need to work on cybersecurity. So I'm personally hoping to, maybe study that in the near future. We'll just see what happens with that. Now, moving on to blockchain. Not to dox myself too hard, I don't think I have here, but yeah, do have a LinkedIn account. It's pretty cool to see other fellow HEXicans on there. So if you want, have a look. Again, if you don't trust it, that's up to you, because Maybe you don't like how there is apparently bots on LinkedIn itself trying to like harvest information. So if you're looking for particular details about another company, maybe you might look into what they're hiring and say they're working on something. There might be a job open for that position, so that would give you or anyone intel as on what they're actually doing. So I just thought I would mention that randomly. But yeah, so we got Blockchain Australia. So I came across this one about 3 hours ago. I haven't refreshed. It is pretty interesting. I doubt there's any in real life HEXican sitting on this board to be able to present their version of what a cryptocurrency is. But basically we're seeing Blockchain Australia was pleased to host the Reserve Bank of Australia and Digital Finance CRC, DFCRC, and roundtable on the Central Bank Digital Currency pilot project. So it appears there's a pilot project taking place here in Australia. That's all I know about it. I did come across a white paper which I so cleverly closed. No, I don't have it. I'll put it in a link below. Basically, it runs through. It was dated, I think my screen's thumbnail had September. So just the other month, they're looking at certain things to do with the central bank digital currency pilot project coming soon. So that's where we're headed, people. There's no escaping it. But again, I don't think they're going to be using like Ethereum-based AUD as their particular central bank digital currency. I think it's going to be something different, something that's held within their systems. Again, very similar to what the current systems already have, that are very quick, can handle a lot of transactions, are secure, etc. It might just turn out that they're using it for basically cost cutting, because they can produce this and save some fees when transferring money between each other or settling or whatever, you know. If you have a fee for transferring large amounts of money, if it's cheaper with a digital currency, maybe they go with that. What's not mentioned, obviously, is not the entire like social credit score play, whereby they might link and take control of everything about you, and track you wherever you go and what you spend all your money on. That's already done with your credit cards anyway and your bank account. So why bother? Now, I can't think about why bother, but again, another topic. Now this is an interesting one. We've got Israel steps up Russia-Ukraine conflict, helping with Kiev with intelligence on Iranian kamikaze drones. So this is, you sit back and watch and you go, okay, so Iran's going to send in their people with drones. So Israel's going to then assist the other side, saying we're going to help with intelligence on what monitoring the drones. Again, it's just more conflict, more encouraging the military-industrial complex to do what they do best, make money. Now, moving on. Bit grim, that one. This one is... So this was pretty damn interesting. If you're looking into, I guess, longevity, and I thought this was a given that if you have relatives going many generations back and they all have a similar trait, then obviously that's, your genetics. But now it's more than that, it's the epigenetics. So I'm trying to figure out how you would pick this up, because if you can't go back like 3, 4, 5 generations, how are you going to study this? It's very confusing. It's similar to the life extension. You see many studies conducted on mice, some on dogs, other species, I think. And it's very hard to conduct a study on a human, because how are you going to study multiple generations of a human's life extension? So you want to try and extend their life out to 110, 120, you have to conduct a study for over a lifetime of a person. Someone has to agree to be studied indefinitely. I don't know how it works, There was an interesting article I'll get to next, and it basically says that it needs a lot of money, needs a lot of focus, and then we can maybe get to the point, we're living beyond our current lifespans, maybe into the triple digits, So this is going back to the epigenetics, memory across multiple generations. It's pretty damn interesting. So if you're if you have a parent, and I think it's more than, say, if the parent has a certain trait and then that trait's passed on to you. If you have a parent and what they think or they crave a certain food, like can that be passed on to you? Like if you're biologically fitter, can you pass the need to exercise onto the your children, and not purely through genes, but through actual epigenetics? That's insane. We're talking about today. Imagine if you were to take someone, if they were adopted out to another culture, and basically they have different they have a different culture, you know, and they might want to do other activities, crave different foods. Does that directly affect your epigenetics? Because even though you put something in a different surrounding, and they can then, you know, have different interests or whatever, enjoy different things outside of their initial culture, did you just change the epigenetics of someone by doing that? It's really, really fascinating. I don't know how they would actually, it says here, it's still, there is a growing body of evidence behind it, but the mechanisms involved are still poorly understood. Because again, how do you prove this? How many generations do you go back? Like 10, 20 generations? Like, it's pretty damn fascinating. So you could crave some sort of food beyond what your body's like trying to tell you that you actually need. And it's like something sugary, might be fruit or something. But what if there was a certain fruit that like your ancestors liked? Can that directly affect you in the future? Will future HEXicans want to buy Hex? Because, you know, if they have kids, no, I'm just kidding. If they have kids, you know, they might want to buy some crypto or something. Yeah, that's pretty damn. I think that's pretty damn interesting, because addiction. What could cause addiction? Is it in your genome? Is it the epigenetics? Is it you know, his surroundings? There's like a whole nother branch of science we don't even begin to grasp. Again, I don't begin to understand it. I just find it fascinating. Similar with like things like quantum theory. How do we even prove it? How do we prove this? Anyway, so that leads me on to the next topic. Basically, someone, again, on Twitter posted something about a cure for cancer. A lady had some big ass tumor and they injected this thing into her arm. It was like a fruit derivative extract, and it basically killed off the tumor. I was like, that's pretty amazing. Turns out it comes from the Queensland rainforest, a particular berry of some sort. I think the technical name is like EBC-46. So I looked that up, and at the same time, there's been some, have I got it here? Yeah, it's been some breakthrough in production of cancer-treating drugs. So maybe they're figuring out. This was the 3rd of October as well, you know. Maybe they're figuring out how to, I think it said, create the compound which can mimic the EBC-46 to hopefully bring about the, you know, making from scratch, bring about the you know, a cure for cancer or a particular cancer or something to basically help treat aging, help treat the cells, help stop aging, reverse, you know, damage that has been caused, or let the body repair itself. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Again, how are you going to fund this, and how are you going to have in place the long-term requirements for this sort of science to be conducted? Because you need people be like willing to engage in these sort of treatments. You need people to fund it. You need people to actually set it all up. I mean, maybe it's not something as obvious as for whatever reason the environment is at the moment. I don't know. Yeah, maybe people are more focused in demonizing certain I don't know, the way people are, or the pollutions that are being caused. Maybe people are more focused on that over, say, like world peace and life extension. You know, I think life extension needs to come before we can develop cleaner, greener technologies. Although if you're looking into that sort of stuff, go check out Dr. Greer's stuff. I think he's got an open call out. If anyone actually has that technology, he could do to open source it, you know. He even mentioned platforms such as GitHub. So when we see development of test nets, that's open sourced, and you can see it's been rolled out on GitHub. So any developer can come along, have a look at it, see if they can break it or fix it, whatever the case may be. But yeah, that's, again, pretty interesting stuff that's going on in the world. If we can get away from the doom and gloom that's on the nightly news. Again, more longevity. This one here, again, I was going through some longevity research. I came up with this one here. Search for a pill that can help dogs and humans live longer. Now, I'm pretty sure that's this one here. Yeah. So this was pretty interesting. Reading through this one, basically saying, people have been searching for a fountain of youth for thousands of years, and they think there's one for canines, and be patient, humans are next. And there's a few words on this particular one. It does break a lot of things down. It was a very well written article. I believe it does mention the SENS Foundation, some political stuff there. It does have, where is it? Yeah, it was just a really, really good read. At first I found it pretty damn boring, but once you got into it, there was even some events that I could relate to. I believe there was something to do with the cryptocurrency. It mentioned a cryptocurrency. It didn't actually say HEX, but I'm pretty sure that's the foundation that the money was raised in donation to give to that particular foundation. Again, read the whole article. It's a very good breakdown. The bottom bit is the main part I want to focus on. What is it? Here we go. Basically saying, it needs a lot of money. It needs a lot of research for it to come about. I think there was a figure mentioned here. Right now we need to start making, again, in context, read the article. Right now we need to start making progress with drugs that maybe wouldn't make us live 150 years, but will make us live healthy and for much longer. I mean, that's the ideal step, isn't it? Because you would slowly roll out the phases. Maybe you live a little bit longer, new treatments come out, live a little bit longer. You just have to get in early enough to get those first treatments to sort of, before you get, I guess, too old to be able to qualify for that particular age range. That's the way I understood it after watching a TED talk. I believe it was from Aubrey de Grey, and yeah, that talk really stuck with me. So I found it pretty interesting moving forward many years that he would crop up again in my timeline. So in such a manner that ties in to cryptocurrency, that ties into the whole HEX movement, So yeah, pretty damn interesting stuff that is being conducted. But again, my take, it is extremely hard to study something. Say the ultimate goal was 150 years, even though I said it wasn't here. Say it was 150 years. How are you going to study someone for their entire lifeline? And then you have to repeat that process again with what identical candidate, like define identical candidate. Even twins can have different personalities, and then you roll into the whole epigenetics conundrum. It's like, okay, how are you going to do that? Maybe keep it simple, focus on the cells and rejuvenating the cells or something like that. I don't know. I have no idea, but I know people out there that do, based on what I'm reading, and I have confidence that if enough money can be put behind it and the right people, we can roll out the clean technology. We can roll out the cures for diseases, which can lead to life extension, which can lead to greater prosperity for the entire planet. Maybe we will stop fighting over energy and shit, and what the need to kill will lower. I saw an interesting post on Twitter the other day, basically had the history in the world as we know it, and it's just like cavemen up to modern day people just fighting. It's insane. Like, what are we actually doing on this planet? Are we trapped on this planet, or are we designed to escape off the planet eventually with the technology that we will design ourselves? Will basically bring about, I think, life extension, cleaner technologies, cleaner planet, like more environmentally friendly ways of producing energy, and then probably develop space travel more efficiently, and then maybe start living underwater, start living on the moon and out and beyond, and then we'll become a multi-planetary species. But all of that is not going to happen overnight, and I strongly think that life extension is going to be a requirement for humanity to achieve such feats, because if we do figure out interplanetary space travel, like really far out, unless you go with the movies and they freeze the bodies and shit, like they've never really made a movie that I am aware of where people have lived to say like 10,000 years or something insane, you know, something that would be required for deep space travel based on simple mathematics, you know. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. What do we got here? Yeah, so I went searching through longevity technology. What could I find? Deep Longevity is building a digital model of aging, and how a most recent publication shows the mental health is a major anti-aging factor that should not be ignored. Yeah, this is what I was going through. Then I was trying to find like other areas that can be applied to everyday living. So basically saying if you're happy, if your mental health is good, if you're eating well, there's probably some form of exercise in there to do with the physical side. But the mental side was like, if you're mentally happier, so say you discovered something like Hex, maybe it frees up your time to do what you love, whether that be sleep all day or study quantum theory or somewhere in between. Maybe, you know, you'll be happier, and then therefore you might even live longer, you know. Whereas if you're unhappy, if you're constantly fighting with someone in your house, on Twitter or some bullshit, like you have some mentality where you have a chip on your shoulder and everyone owes you something when no one owes you anything. If you have that sort of mentality, maybe that's not mentally healthy for you, you know. Just a thought. Again, this is not, oh my God, not legal advice, not health advice, not anything. It's just, this is entertainment. These are my thoughts. I thought I'm kind of doing it backwards here, you know, because most people would do something like this when they're already famous and people would be hanging off their every word. So maybe I'll try and reverse play it and just do it when no one knows who I am, when no one's even listening, you know. Maybe in the future when all Hexicans are extremely well off and we've created something to change the world, you know, as soon as you see something to do with Hexican, they're all around in that age, you know. Now, this one here, yeah, the longevity diet, basically another diet, relatively new as well, basically saying how you could, eat yourself to live longer. Something like that, which I am not doing myself. I mean, yeah, I've got to get back to the gym, burn some more calories, move around a bit more, eat a bit less. But yeah. To be honest, I actually stopped going to the gym purely because of the whole COVID thing, basically reducing that interaction. Sounds sad, but yeah. And then the missus did agree with that as well, so that's been my play for the moment. Do miss the gym. Now here's another thing. Again, this was funny because I think I did a search for this, and it was actually news provided by a shop. So the shop, I'm guessing, has some scientists behind them, and then they produce facts, explain things, you know, and they came out with the C60 process of creating C60, and basically something to do with a gummy with this one. I know, relatively new, not shilling this at all, just saying I did come across this C60. I think the study was done on mice or rats, and it basically doubled the lifespan. Pretty crazy. But again, is there studies on humans? Is there, well, it makes you wonder if there was some longevity, studies out there, like would it be released to the public? But then again, that's a whole nother rabbit trail. Do you really want to go down that one? When you do look at the Queen and their bloodline, they tend to live pretty long. Like, is it the food they're eating? Is it the epigenetics? Is it some treatment that we don't know of, or that we're not aware of because our doctors aren't good enough, or who knows what it is? Is it our medical system? Is it our environment? It could be lots of things, you know. But this, yeah, did come across it. Maybe, you know, maybe look into it as if you're into this sort of stuff. I don't know. But yeah, it's pretty new. One guy, Dr. Group, he's got his own supplement line, and basically anything from lots and lots and lots of different flush types to basically all the vitamins you need to other more exotic things like C60. Like, do you really need that? There's some other things that can help with cellular lifespan and things like that, But yeah, if you wanted to check that out, maybe if you're into that stuff, or even you look into the research, find a cheaper version, or just completely ignore. I don't know, people, what to tell you anymore. Now, this one, oh yeah, I was like, how does C60 work? It sucks though, because for some reason I can't access PubMed at the moment. For some reason, I have no idea why. I was working the other day, but yeah, now it's not. It's further saying the molecule actually has a HEXican in it. That reminds me, this here. It's funny when Hex was pumping to all-time highs, a lot of people were generally happier. A lot more was going on, and I started noticing hexes everywhere, and I still do. And funnily enough, here's one here. I need to get like a stamp or some shit. And what that is a base, yeah, that. Pretty cool. But yeah. Moving on. Oh, here you go. And to end on a really positive note, highlighted in red, Drudge Report, the nightmare COVID variant that beats our immunity is finally here. Someone made a post saying, here we come post-elections. But we do have the XBB subvariant of Omicron appears to be the fastest spreading COVID virus yet, and most of our treatments don't touch it. There you go. I won't close on this one, but yeah, if you want to read about this one, you're probably going to hear a lot more about it coming soon. It reads as if the only way that they know how to defend against it is through treatment. So whether or not you want to do that, up to you, informed consent, etc., etc. But yeah, so worth reading about. Yeah, here we go. You can read that there. The bad news, that's the bad news. I go through all that. And then basically, here's the good news. The good news is that the bivalent, I thought I was going to say benevolent, bivalent vaccine boosters from Pfizer and Moderna seem to work just fine against XBB. Even though the original vaccines are less effective against XBB, they won't prevent all infections and reinfections. And remember, they won't help against transmission, which they once said they would. Anyway, moving on before this stream gets anything. No, it seems to be fine. Okay. So then we got this is pretty interesting. I've reached my article. That sucks. Basically, Parler. I didn't know Parler was still a thing. Yeah. Well, alright, can that one. So yeah, Kanye West, I think he's bought Parler. So I might have to check out Parler. I think that's supposed to be the platform for free speech, but also it's been labeled like a right-wing platform for whatever reason. Like maybe there's a large congestion of people with very similar political views, or I don't know, something like that. But yeah, that's about it. On the cryptocurrency front, like it's what do I say about this? Yeah, I think we all know what's happening with the cryptocurrency market, how it's tied into the legacy market at the moment. Basically, it's a risk-on asset. When there's less risk in the environment and people are looking to take on risk, they might actively seek out cryptocurrency. Is how what it appears to be. The interest rates, the inflation, geopolitical events, probably the 3 dot points worth looking into. Again, there's NATO drills taking place on Monday, so it might be today. depending on what country you're in. At the same time, Russia's also doing nuclear drills. So let's just pray for peace, and hopefully, yeah, keep an eye on these 3 dot points, people, because it's not over yet. Signing out.